अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे ॐ नमो भगवते श्री अरविन्दाय। Namaste all. Today's topic is Sadhana, Yoga and Transformation. When these three words, normally when we hear, it may appear to us that they are whatever we are doing in our spiritual journey, they are there. Sadhana, anyhow, whatever the sadhana that I am doing is sadhana, and yoga, anyhow, I am doing Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, Purna yoga. It also comes to our mind that the transformation I am seeking, because my life, body and mind, through that I am seeking transformation. So this may immediately come to our mind. But Sri Aurobindo has very deeply described about these terms, and what Sri Aurobindo says in this regard, because these three terms, sadhana, yoga and transformation, we will be covering an overview of integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo. In Savitri we know Sri Aurobindo says there is a magical line: matter shall reveal the spirit's face. So our endeavor as sadhaks of integral yoga should be to make the matter ready, so as to allow spirits to reveal in all its glory. Spirit is already there, spirit is everywhere. Unless and until the matter is ready, it's very difficult to invoke the presence of the divine into the matter. So as sadhaks of integral yoga, Purna yoga, we should make this earth ready and this body ready to receive that divine light to descend into it. In this process, these three terms, sadhana, yoga and transformation of our nature, of individual nature and whole of our being, is very much necessary. Integral yoga, as is understood, is very vast in its application. We all of us know it's very vast in its application and dimensions. It's multidimensional, meaning thereby there are various aspects to it, and it is multidimensional. Sri Aurobindo says that yoga has 4 powers and objects. What are they? They are purity, liberty, beatitude, which means supreme blessedness and happiness. 4th one is perfection. I repeat: purity, liberty, beatitude, perfection. So in this regard, Sri Aurobindo says that whosoever has consummated these four mightinesses in the being of the transcendental, universal and individual God is the complete and absolute yogi. So one should be able to consummate all these things. We also know that there are three poises of the divine, that is individual, universal and transcendental. So whosoever has consummated these four mightinesses in the being of the transcendental, universal and individual God is the complete and absolute yogi. This is as per Sri Aurobindo. We know because all manifestations of God are manifestations of the absolute Parabrahman. Nothing is outside the divine. Everything is part and parcel of the divine only. Because the truth is one, but the sages call it by various names, we know that. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadante. Truth is one, but the sages call it by various names. That's why in Indian Sanatana Dharma also, we worship everything. Because we feel that there is a divinity everywhere. We worship animals. We know some of you may be worshipping this Nagula Panchami, Nagula Chaviti we celebrate. On that day we specifically, more particularly the housewife, they just go to that temple of the snake or wherever that kind of a snake is situated there. We just go there and offer milk there and we offer prayers there. Likewise, we worship plants, trees. We worship water as God. Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmada Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidham Kuru. So water is very sacred to us. We worship water too. So they all are, we believe that it's a manifestation of the Lord, manifestation of the Parabrahman. Nothing is outside the divine embrace. Everything is part and parcel of the divine. Earth, water, animals, everything. In fact, we see on Dasara occasion, we worship Vahana Puja, Ayudha Puja, we do it. Because Mother also says that material things always love to be respected. Likewise, they love to be worshipped. That's why we don't neglect the material things also. More particularly, as a sadhaks of integral yoga, we give so much respect to the material things. Otherwise, we are not entitled to use them. So, material things always love to be respected. So, there are various aspects into it, such as sadhana, tapasya, aradhana and dhyana. To be in brief, the sadhana is the practice of yoga. Whatever the practice that we are doing day to day, practice is called sadhana. The other terms such as dhyana, tapasya, aradhana, they are all also parts of the sadhana. They are all integral parts of the sadhana. Tapasya is the concentration of the will to get the results of sadhana. Doing an intense tapas, because we see that many rishis also have done intense tapas to achieve something. So tapasya is the concentration of the will to get the results of sadhana and to conquer the lower nature. Because despite we have been making many endeavors to transform the lower nature, sometimes it is not possible unless we develop a kind of intense tapasya to achieve that and conquer that lower nature. Constantly offering ourselves to the Lord to transform our lower nature. So for which the intense tapasya is very much required. Aradhana. Because tapasya, aradhana and dhyana are an integral part of sadhana. So now coming to aradhana. Aradhana is worship of the divine, love, self-surrender, aspiration to the divine, calling the name, prayer. adoration, worshipping the divine, nama japa, everything comes within this ambit of aradhana. Then dhyana. Dhyana is inner concentration of the consciousness. Meditation, going inside in samadhi. Like yama niyama pranayama pratyahara dharana dhyana tapasamadhi ashtanga yoga Patanjali, we know that in that there is also a pranayama. So breathing, concentration upon the breath. Normally we tend to forget about the breath, but if we come back to that state and concentrate our in-breath and out-breath, even whatever the work that we are doing, it helps us to gather our concentration. Because when we engage in the work, our energy gets distracted. It goes here and there. There are many pulls from here and there. But suddenly if we remember our breath, our in-breath and out-breath, more particularly if we simply observe, that is enough, because we can bring back the consciousness, scattered strength to its original point. But on the top of it, if we feel that the out-breath is going to the mother and the mother is receiving our out-breath, and in turn mother is sending back her force and energy, love, in the form of in-breath or in the form of Om as an in-breath to us. So constantly if this goes on, our consciousness also gets widened, and we always constantly think about the mother, because ultimately we know that remember and offer is the key principle in getting oneself, widening the consciousness or expanding the consciousness or deepening the consciousness. That helps us a lot to connect always, whatever the work that we are doing, to connect always ourselves with the consciousness of the mother, offering it to the divine mother when we are talking or when we are engaging in some work. Everything that we are doing it for the divine. Then only it becomes a karma yoga is nothing but that only. When we are offering our karma to the Lord, uniting our ordinary consciousness to the Lord, divinity. If you are ordinarily engaging in the work, it's only a karma. But if that, having that kind of a widening consciousness and offering that work to the Lord, offering all the fruits of the Lord, then the works, whatever the works that we do, get divinized. It becomes karma yoga. Offering all the fruits. Karmanyevadhikaraste in Sri Krishna in 3rd chapter says, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phaleheturбhu mate sangotsa karmani. So offer whatever the results that you get, we should simply offer it to at Lord's feet. And doing the work without expecting anything in return, nishkama karma. So these three things, tapasya, aradhana, dhyana, are also part of sadhana. Namajapa also helps to constantly remember the mother. Om Namo Bhagavate Ma or Om Ma Shri Aurobindo Ma Shri Aurobindo. There are various ways to repeat the Namajapa inside or whenever you get a time outside. That will also help. And in this sadhana, there is in fact, we find many crash courses outside. People also keep offering that you come and join in my institute for about 12 days, 15 days. Then I'll teach you Kundalini, something like that. I'll help you to awaken that Kundalini. It's a crash course for our integral yoga or Purna Yoga sadhana is not that. It's not a crash course at all. Cannot be achieved within a time frame like 20 days or 30 days like that. There is no such kind of a crash course here. So sadhana, whoever undertakes, we all should have so much endurance. Not only endurance but also perseverance. Perseverance also is very much required. Sri Aurobindo says, perseverance in the path is the one rule to cling to, and with that finally all obstacles are overcome. So whatever the obstacles that come in the way, the moment we encounter it, sometimes we just drop away and take a cue, a different sidelines. In such a situation, the difficulties will be doubled. If we face the difficulties, right, being there and face it with so much courage, strength, and by invoking the divine grace and blessings, then the divine will help us to navigate through those difficulties. But if we fear those difficulties and don't take part in it and take a side way, then that's not the right path. That's why Sri Aurobindo says perseverance in the path is the one rule to cling to. With so much perseverance, we have to move ahead in the path. And with that, finally, all obstacles are overcome. Sadhana is the thing which takes time and needs lots of patience. It cannot be like 2-minute made instant coffee or tea. If we go on doing sadhana, today we may get a kind of a realization. Tomorrow, the mother helps us to improve or enhances our wisdom or intelligence or consciousness. తెలుగులో ఉంది మనకు, అనగనగా రాగం అతిశయిల్లుచునుండు తినగ తినగ వేమ తీయనుండు సాధనమున పనులు సమకూరు ధరలోన విశ్వదాభిరామ వినురవేమ. So means if we constantly doing sadhana, then we'll be able to achieve the things. So patience and perseverance play a very prominent role in our sadhana. Let us all should have this patience and perseverance. Then a question is put to Sri Aurobindo, what if one has patience and confidence? Sri Aurobindo's answer is, the consciousness passes through the periods of new openings and things which seem to be impossible to effect at that time get done. So therefore, each time a new opening will come up and the grace will descend upon it, depending upon our sincerity. So that's why Mother also says that always be sincere in our approach. Always be persistent in your endeavor, be sincere. No victory will be denied to you. No victory will be denied to you, provided that we are all very, very sincere. So this impulse to rush away, going very fast and getting the things done in one night or 2 days or 3 days, and by doing 1 week intense meditation and tapasya, I should be able to realize the God within or divinity within. These things, Sri Aurobindo says, this impulse to rush away is always a mistake. Because what happens, sometimes we may get imaginations also which may not be right sometimes. Even the senior sadhaks of Sri Aurobindo also has faced this problem. Nalini Kanta Gupta, as all of you know, he is the one who has associated with Sri Aurobindo right from his revolutionary stage up to Sri Aurobindo's leaving the body in 1950 and even beyond too. He had encountered a problem that an image like Sri Aurobindo has come in front of him and was insisting to bow down at my feet. Then he immediately realizes Sri Aurobindo didn't even one time to said to any one of his disciples to say that to bow down at my feet, because Sri Aurobindo had no any traces of ego at any point of time. Then immediately when he saw the feet of that person, then he realized that this is not the feet of Lord Sri Aurobindo, because that image has imitated the truth. The truth is Sri Aurobindo, but that image is not Sri Aurobindo. Immediately he realized with that, probably having had an intense realization inside, and he realizes that this is not the feet of Lord Sri Aurobindo. So we should be very, very careful about those realizations and the truth appearing in a fabricated form. And we should also remember our sadhana is for the divine. Sadhana for oneself is another matter. It depends upon from one individual to the other. One can take it up and or leave it. If doesn't find one finds many difficulties in the process, it is always up to him. Whether with so much perseverance and patience and with sincere efforts, if he does that and continue it, it's up to him. The real sadhana is for the divine. It is the soul's need, and one cannot give it up even if in moments of despondency one thinks one can. So therefore we should remember that our sadhana is not for ourselves, our sadhana is for the divine. Because each soul is, Swami Vivekananda also says, each soul is potentially divine. We should remember that this sadhana is for the divine. It is the soul's need and one cannot give it up even if in moments of despondency one thinks one can. Then coming to concentration, there are two ways of concentration. Number one, the concentration in the heart. Number two, the concentration in the head. The concentration in the heart, this opens up the psychic being and brings bhakti, love, union with the mother, her presence within the heart, and action of her force in nature. So if we concentrate in the heart, so this is the advantage we get. It opens up the psychic and brings bhakti, love, union with the mother. If there is a concentration in the head, it opens the mind to self-realization, to the consciousness what is above. What is above the mind? To the ascent of the consciousness out of the body and the descent of the higher consciousness into the body. That's what our symbol, Sri Aurobindo symbol is ascent and descent. So the concentration can be done in two ways. One in the heart, which helps us to open up the psychic. Next one in the heart, to aspire from below for the grace to descend from above. That is Sri Aurobindo symbol, as all of us know. We also may get a doubt that why in fact sadhana is very much necessary. Because the things of the lower nature offer obstinate resistance. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. It will take some time to go beyond these three gunas. Sri Aurobindo in the Essays on the Gita says Traigunyatita. One should become Traigunyatita. Means one should transcend beyond the barriers of these three gunas. So as long as there are play of forces, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, they always keep influencing our nature, and they always constantly resist the divine light and love to take part into our being. So therefore the sadhana is very much necessary. We all should depend on the mother for the sadhana, and that is the best attitude. For it is indeed her force that does sadhana in us. Because as a human effort, we have to make every attempt to do sadhana. But ultimately, with so much humility and by folding our hands, we should surrender before her. If we are facing any kind of obstacles, then she will guide us. She will navigate through all the difficulties. So we all should depend on the mother for the sadhana, and that is the best attitude. For it is indeed her force that does sadhana in us. We should allow mother's power and grace to lead us. The condition precedent is this, that we should keep the temple premises very clean. In the Mother books, Sri Aurobindo also says that if you wish to install the divine presence in a temple, one should keep the temple premises clean. So therefore, this body, our life and mind, always this upakaranalu, these are all instruments, have to be always constantly to be submitted at the lotus feet of the Lord for purification. Each and every time. Because a bad thought is also, we may think that no, I am not doing anything, but only the thought has entered. Even a bad thought is a bad deed. So therefore we should be very, very careful. Primarily when it comes, we should reject it. That's what three very important terms in our sadhana is: aspiration, rejection and surrender. We should aspire for higher things, for a higher consciousness, to manifest the divinity in the matter. Not only that, aspiration, and also to reject whatever the coming in our way and preventing us from going ahead and uniting our consciousness with the divine consciousness. We should always constantly reject it. That's how the purification takes place. Otherwise it's very difficult to expect the divine grace to act or force to work in us. So therefore this is a dominating factor. This is a mother's power and grace we should allow to lead us and guide our life. We should always think that let not my will be done, let thy will be done. దైవ సంకల్పం ఏది ఉందో అది అయ్యే విధంగా మనం చూడాలి. Let thy will be done, let not my will be done. We have many wills to do it, but that ultimately whatever the will that we do, work that we do, sometimes what happens is it debases our consciousness and it takes us to a lower and lower and lower levels, and it's very difficult for us to come up. So therefore we should always constantly pray that let thy will be done. దైవ సంభవం, అందుకే అంటారు తెలుగులో తాను ఒకటి తలిస్తే దైవం ఒకటి తలిచింది అని చెప్పేసి. సో therefore let thy will be done. Sadhana differs from one person to the other. His sadhana is between him and divine. No one else has a part in it. Each one has his own way. One likes to read Savitri, one likes to read essays on the Gita, one likes to read Life Divine. There are various ways. One likes to do Nama Japa. There is nothing wrong in it. Each one has his own way of it. Nobody has any role to play in it. And cannot point out saying that whatever is doing is not right, because everything is an integral part of sadhana. He is connecting in his own way to the Lord and to the Mother. So therefore no one else has a part in it. He confronts his own difficulties, solves and aligns later. Because the facts and circumstances of an individual differs from the other, we know. Societal conditions, family obligations, because of the any kind of a profession that he takes up. So different factors can contribute or influence one's nature. Therefore each one person has his own sadhana and difficulties, and he himself solves it and aligns later. Yoga is union with the divine. Union is effected through offering. That's why just now we have discussed remember and offer plays a very significant role. Whatever we are doing in the ordinary course of circumstances, it is karma. But if it is done as an offering and sacrifice for the Lord, we unite our consciousness with a noble thought of doing karma for the Lord, then it becomes the karma yoga. Sadhana is also what you do in order to unite with the divine, like reading a book or Nama Japa and whatever you are doing. But if it should be in order to unite with the divine.
So normally sir, what happens, whatever puja, sadhana, what you are telling, Nam Japa, people I have seen who are doing, I don't know, I don't do anything, but I have seen people who are doing, they are very diligent, very, very diligent. But you are telling it should be offered as a fruit to the God. And as an instrument, prayer should be an instrument to connect with the God. But there is no trace of anything good. They are doing good activity. Puja is activity good.
Yes.
As an activity it is very good. But before the puja, during the puja and after the puja,
That is the, in fact,
you are always on the wrong track.
correct.
And you, for years you are doing that.
Correct.
What is the sense in doing that puja?
Correct. That's what. Andikane, so we should have. There are also, there's a difference between a religion and spirituality. If religiously doing, it is a day-to-day practice, but there is no element of divinity in it, then it is only a ordinary karma. So there is a difference between religious practices and
this logic is somewhat relative.
Yeah,
very,
correct.
so this they are doing is they are taking part, they are
Correct.
cooking, they are eating. All
correct.
It is that
Correct.
they are doing.
Like us, like the food is there in the kitchen, but if we constantly diverting our attention to the TV and elsewhere, we lose the consciousness that we are not offering it to the Lord. We simply go on eating it, that's all. But if the TV is cut off, if the food is kept in front of me, if I close my eyes and connect my consciousness that whatever I am eating, if I remember that I am offering it to the Lord deep within inside, so that I will grow in the Lord's consciousness. If we confine ourselves and eat with that consciousness, then it is a divinized work. That's why Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havihi, Brahmagnav, Brahmanahurtam. So it all depends upon us. I mean, if one person actually, completely the liberty is given to a person. If he ultimately wants to grow very widely in the divine consciousness, he has to obviously discard the other things. Like it all, it
50
will.
crore of population of India have gone to Kumbh Mela.
Correct.
Basically, it is a religious activity, and assume that once you do it, you finish the old papam and now you are a good man and you now. But logically,
Correct.
5 people you will not find who have changed.
Yeah, see, there is ultimately, it is the, change in the consciousness, radical change in the consciousness that is very much required. These are all outside ritual, religious practices. See, if you touch the tail of a cow, you will reach the heaven. So if I touch it today and tomorrow if I come back to my profession, I am doing some kind of all things and other things. So there is no point and there is no sense in it actually, whatever I am doing. So there should be a radical change in the consciousness.
Radical change in a human being happens only and only when he is kicked on his teeth.
Correct, absolutely. The God will, in the process, the God will keep on giving him.
But even after having taken the kick, people don't change.
Yeah, that's ultimately it depends upon from person to the person.
Called religious practices, but ours is different, entirely different.
Correct. So we have to get away from the ordinary human consciousness and get into the touch of the divine consciousness. For that, Sri Aurobindo says, call always the mother for help, guidance. Open to her, remember and offer, aspire and pray for her force to work in us so as to make us fit to do the yoga. Reject desire, restlessness, disturbances of mind and vital. It is a vital who always giving so many suggestions. Whatever you are doing is absolutely right, but you should not give so much attention to it. We should be able to, properly understand that the suggestion which is coming is right or not. We should be able to constantly, sometimes we may have to take a step back also. We should not immediately plunge into action. So Sri Aurobindo says the only necessity in the sadhana is to open yourself to the divine force. If one is open, the necessary understanding of knowledge will come of itself through spiritual experiences. Slowly the experiences will be revealed to that person. If we open, only thing is that let us all open to the mother. So dhyana means to make the mind, and that's the reason why this dhyana helps us to bring back the scattered consciousness to a single pointedness. Dhyana means to make the mind and vital quiet and concentrate in aspiration for the mother's peace, mother's presence, her light, force and ananda. Then a question may arise, when divine is there, why should I do sadhana? Divine is there, so therefore he will take care of me, then why should I do sadhana? I will sit quietly, will do nothing. For this, Sri Aurobindo's answer is this: we have to remember that divine force cannot do things in the void, but must lead each one according to his nature, to the point at which he can feel the mother working within and doing all for him. He makes us to realize up to that point. Till then, the sadhak's aspiration, self-consecration, his rejection of all that comes in the way is very necessary. It is indispensable, Sri Aurobindo says. Now coming to yoga, we know this term yoga is a union with the divine. There are many yogas we know: Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. There are also many spiritual disciplines, paths towards liberation and perfection. Each has its separate aim, its peculiar approach to the one, its separate method, its helpful philosophy and practice, because we know Prajapita, Brahma Kumari, Raja Yoga and different Bhakti Yoga. Through singing, the Meera in fact has reached Sri Krishna. The beauty of this integral yoga, Purna Yoga, is it takes up all of them in their essence and tries to arrive at a unification, essence but not in detail, of all the aims, approaches. It helps for all embracing philosophy and practices. Then let us briefly touch upon what is meant by this integral yoga.
So this last paragraph that is there,
Yes.
that the ideal way of sadhana is that a feeling comes into a human being that whatever I am doing is being done by the mother through me. Correct, sir?
Correct.
Whatever I am doing, say I am going to the office, I am earning money, I am giving that money to my home, my family is being maintained by that, and from morning to evening, whatever my activity is, basically I am following no one's instruction but the instructions of the Supreme, through which I am acting and running my day-to-day life.
As an instrument of the Lord.
I am the instrument. So, if properly that feeling comes in a human being, he will change.
Correct. Absolutely
That
right.
coming out that feeling is very important.
That is very much important actually. If it is doing for his own individual purpose, then there is no use. But if he has got that feeling that I am doing it for the Lord,
So
that feeling should come, that consciousness.
that human being mentality and thought process.
Correct. Because that is the reason why this vital always keeps interfering with that person. Whatever you are doing is absolute right, you need not offer it to the Lord. This many other vital impulses will always keep one person to drive away from getting connected to the Lord. So that is what this sadhana is very much required.
One book I read, very small incident, but yes, it was very.
Briefly touch upon this integral yoga. In the words of Sri Aurobindo, it is a way of a complete God realization, a complete self-realization, a complete fulfillment of our being and consciousness, a complete transformation of our nature. And this implies a complete perfection of life here and not only a return to an eternal perfection elsewhere. So ours, Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga we take up everything into our fold and divinize. We just simply will not ask for any kind of a liberation, individual salvation or a liberation. That's not the intent and purport of Sri Aurobindo Integral Yoga. In this process, our mind, will, heart, life, body, our outer and inner and inmost existence, our superconscious and subconscious, as well as our conscious parts, must all be thus given, must all become a means, a field of this realization and transformation, and participate in the illumination and the change from a human into a divine consciousness and nature. Divinization of human nature. There is a difference between divine life and life divine. To making the very life divine. This is the character of Integral Yoga, Sri Aurobindo says. So Purna Yoga means that instead of approaching the divine through the mind alone, jnana, or the heart alone, bhakti, or through will and works alone, karma, one seeks the divine with all the parts and powers of the consciousness and the being, and uniting these three ways means uniting this jnana, karma and bhakti, uniting these three ways and many others in a single yoga, and receives the divine in his presence, conscious, force, light and bliss in all the consciousness and the being. So our yoga aims at the conscious union with the divine in this supermind and the transformation of the nature. Sri Aurobindo also gives a difference between the other ordinary yogas and the Purna Yoga. The ordinary yogas, according to Sri Aurobindo, go straight from mind into some featureless condition of the cosmic silence, and through it try to disappear upward into the highest, go and merging in that cosmic silence and self. The object of Integral Yoga is to transcend mind and into the divine truth of Satchidananda, which is not only static but dynamic, and raise the whole being into that divine truth. There is a divine truth there. So we are offering our life, body and mind, all the instruments of our being, to unite with that Satchidananda, with that divine truth. Not only merging our ordinary consciousness through this instrument, life and body, and uniting with the truth consciousness or Satchidananda, but also to bring back the truth consciousness into this earth again, to divinize the matter. That's why Mother also says that this world is preparing for a big change. Will you collaborate? Mother asks. So therefore it is our responsibility of all of us to help in the process to divinize the matter. So the way of yoga followed by all of us as sadhaks of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother has a different purpose from others. That's why Sri Aurobindo says that we do not belong to the past dance, but to the noons of the future. We are not here to do what others are doing or have repeated, but to raise ourselves to a new and higher consciousness, not only to raise and to reach that level, but also to bring back that and divinize the matter. For if its aim is not only to raise out of the ordinary ignorant world consciousness into the divine consciousness, but to bring the supramental power of that divine consciousness down into the ignorance of mind, life and body, to transform them, to manifest the divine here and create a divine life in the matter, for which just now we have discussed this aspiration, rejection and surrender play a significant role. The practice of this yoga is double. One side is of an ascent of the consciousness to the higher planes. The other is of a descent of the power of the higher planes into the earth consciousness, so as to drive out the power of darkness and ignorance and transform the nature. That's why there is a beautiful prayer in this Brihadaranyaka. Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. O Lord, lead us from darkness to the light. Lead us from mortality to the immortality. Lead us from unreal to the real. So this integral yoga, it includes both liberation and transcendence, but takes liberation as a first step, not as the last step of its siddhi, because it aims not at a departure out of world, because we never follow to discard everything and to reach a sannyasa state and just attain mukti. No, ours is not to attain the individual salvation or mukti. That's what Sri Aurobindo says, it aims not at a departure out of world and life into heaven or a nirvana, but divinizing matter with the descent of higher consciousness, for which to help us in this process is only again turn to the mother for guidance. That's what we know, that the relationship between the mother and Sri Aurobindo is that I exist not without him, he is unmanifest without me. Therefore we should depend upon both the mother and Sri Aurobindo. In this regard, Sri Aurobindo says, everyone who is turned to the mother is doing my yoga. It is a great mistake to suppose that one can do the Purna Yoga, that is, carry out and fulfill all the sides of the yoga by one's own effort. No human being can do that. Sri Aurobindo says that it's not at all possible. What one has to do is to put oneself in the mother's hands and open oneself to her by service, by bhakti, by aspiration. Then the mother, by her light and force, works in him, so that sadhana is done. It is a mistake also to have the ambition to be a big Purna Yogi or a supramental being and ask oneself how far have I got towards that. The right attitude is to be devoted and given to the mother and to wish to be whatever she wants you to be. The rest is for the mother to decide and do in you. That's all. So therefore, it's very, very important to turn to the mother. Sri Aurobindo also says the only necessity in the sadhana is to open yourself to the divine force. If one is open, the necessary understanding or knowledge will come of itself through spiritual experience. Now coming to the last part, due to paucity of time, I'll just confine myself. Sadhana we have covered, yoga we have covered, now transformation. The transformation means that the higher consciousness or nature is brought down into the mind, vital and body and takes the place of the lower. So replacement, because ours is a transformational yoga, transformation of nature. So purification of nature by the influence of the spirit is not, so Aurobindo says that purification of nature by the influence of the spirit is not what I mean by transformation. He says spiritual transformation is something dynamic, not merely liberation of the self or realization of the one, which can very well be attained without any descent. Without there being any descent, if individually makes sadhana constantly, then the realization is possible. So Aurobindo says it is a putting on of the spiritual consciousness, dynamic as well as static, in every part of the being. In every part of the being, down to the subconscient. Because we know Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, gross and subtle body, and there are also many other layers. So Sri Aurobindo says it's putting on of the spiritual consciousness, dynamic as well as static, in every part of the being, down to the subconscient. A change of consciousness, radical and complete, so that there will be assured step towards, a change of consciousness, radical and complete, so that there will be assured step forward in the spiritual evolution of the being. This is the transformation. And the difference between this integral yoga and the old yogas is not that they are incompetent and cannot do these things. They can do them. Sri Aurobindo says that they can do them. They can do perfectly well, but that they proceed from realization of self to nirvana, liberation, or some heaven and abandon life. While this does not abandon life, our Sri Aurobindo's yoga never approves such view of abandoning life. The supramental is necessary for the transformation of terrestrial life and being, not for reaching the self. One must realize self first, only afterwards can one realize the supermind. And further, there are three kinds of stages of transformation contemplated in this sadhana. There is a psychic transformation. Second one is spiritual transformation. Third one is supramental transformation. The first two, that is psychic transformation and the spiritual transformation, these two, a transformation sufficient for spiritual realization is attainable by these two. By these two, this spiritual transformation is attainable. The last one, supramental transformation, this is a new endeavor. According to Sri Aurobindo, this is a new endeavor. Transformation sufficient for divinization of human life is, in my view, not possible except by a supramental change, Sri Aurobindo says. And for this supramental yoga, the first and last word of supramental yoga, as all of us know, because our yoga also begins with one word, that is surrender. It also ends with the word surrender. In this regard, Sri Aurobindo says, the first word of the supramental yoga is surrender. Its last word also is surrender. That's why Arjuna also just bows down at the feet of the Sri Krishna. He says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami mashuchaha. I am abandoning everything, I am leaving everything, I am just prostrating at your lotus feet. Please take my being into your fold so that I can understand the real value of life. Complete Sharanagati. So the first word and the last word is surrender. It is by a will to give oneself to the eternal divine, for lifting into the divine consciousness, for perfection, for transformation, that the yoga begins. It is in the entire giving that it culminates, for it is only when the self-giving is complete that there comes the finality of the yoga. The entire taking up into the supramental divine, the perfection of the being, the transformation of the nature. So therefore the transformation also comes if we offer our entire being at the feet of the Lord or at surrender. Then it is the mother who does the work in us. If there is no Sharanagati, then it's vain to expect that the divine grace will work upon us. We'll conclude the talk with a small mantra, Shanti mantra. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। जय मां।